Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Trade on the Tigris. This is a trading game, as you can tell by the name of the game, that I played for the first time the other day. My friends were raving about it after playing it at Geekway, and I really enjoyed my play of it. If you are the type of player who longs for interaction in games or complains about games that feel like multiplayer solitaire, this is probably a game for you because there's a ton of interactions in this game. We played a 6-player game, so you can see my little tableau here that I'm building, as well as 2 tracks on the board that remind me a little bit of Seven Wonders Duel, where you're trying to run to one end of the track. So you start in the middle and you're trying to kind of pick a side and go to that side. And the cards that you draw, there are all these different decks of cards, depend on your position on the track. They get more powerful the further out on the track you go. There are a couple mechanisms that I want to highlight real quick before I get to my favorite mechanism. One is that there are cards in this game that you yourself cannot benefit from, and so you are heavily incentivized to trade them away because other players can benefit from them. There's a huge trading element in this game. This is something that I really also liked about Sidereal Confluence, and I think this is perhaps an integral component to any great trading game, that you have certain things that you yourself cannot use at all, and so you are just by default, incentivized to trade them away to other players. I really like that. I thought they did an interesting thing to prevent players from being overloaded with information in this game by, there are certain cards that you get, that you draw, that refer to another specific card of a specific number. So there's this deck of cards, you can kind of see it back there, where each card is numbered like 1 through 60. And you might draw another card that says, gain card 60. And you just gain that card. So I like, and those cards 1 through 60 are very specific. They're very thematically defined and very specific. I like that they kind of, instead of having all those cards out on the table or have a chart or something like that, they just have a deck of cards and they say, okay, now's the time to go get card 60. Thought that was clever. Also, I really like that this is a real-time trading game. And I like that, as complex as the idea of a real-time trading game is, I like that they really simplified it down to a few core elements, which is basically when you're trading, you're trying to get as many cards of the same type as possible, so there aren't like different types of sets you're trying to get. If I'm going after fish, I want more fish. I'm not trying to get like a set of fish and brass and clay. I just want fish. So I like how clear that is. And at the same time, like I mentioned on these tracks, you're trying to advance on these tracks, and so as you're trading for cards, you kind of know, okay, I'm going after dictatorship, I'm going to move in that direction. I think the designers could have tried to make this much more complex, but the trading phase wouldn't have worked nearly as well if they had done it some other way. My favorite mechanism, though, let's get to that, is how the cards themselves are constructed. And unfortunately, I don't have a face-up card on this photo, so I'm going to put this down for a minute. Basically, on every card, you have a set collection element, like the fish that I mentioned, on the top of the card, and then on the bottom of the card, you have other things. Oftentimes, those things refer to these 2 tracks. They might say, okay, move up on this track, move on down on this track. They might give you points. They might give you barbarians, which you don't want. They might give you culture that you do want. And sometimes they're just weird little things that say, lose some points if you have this, or like conditional things. And the really neat thing about this trading mechanism and the way the cards are defined is that when you are trading with other players, you must be honest about what's on top of the card. So I can't say, if I have a fish card, I can't say, hey, I'll give you a brass or clay and actually hand you a fish card. I have to be honest about that top part. This reminds me a little bit about Sheriff of Nottingham. But the bottom part you can lie about, or you cannot lie about it. You can be perfectly honest about it. And so I really like that the game allows you to be deceptive if you need to and when you need to, when you want to, or you can just be completely honest, but it has a clear definition, a clear delineation between the two. Top part, you gotta be honest about that. Bottom part, you can lie if you want. You can manipulate if you want. I thought that was just add some really, really fun, interesting elements to the trading phases in the game, of which there are 5, I believe. So yeah, that reminded me a little bit of Sheriff of Nottingham and also the real-time trading of Sidereal Confluence. If you like either of those games, I would highly recommend Trade on the Tigris. I had a great time with it, and I look forward to playing it again. If you have a favorite mechanism that this reminds you of, how the cards are kind of built so that you have to be honest about one part, but you can hide the information about the bottom part, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Or if anything else that I mentioned today, any of these other mechanisms remind you of something in another game, or if you have a favorite mechanism in Trade in the Tigris that you want to mention here, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks.